can you really change someone in a relationship? Blame it on movies like She's All That and 10 Things I Hate About You, and most of us believe secretly or not that we've got the power to reshape the right guy into our ideal mate. We want to live that fairy tale and believe that love can conquer all, says psychologist Ramani Durvasula, Ph.D., author of Should I Stay or Should I Go? Here's the reality: get along with another human being over the long term, adjustments and transitions have to be made. Case in point, if one of you hates cats and the other desperately wants a kitten, one of you will have to cave to the other's desires eventually. But what's actually possible when it comes to changing a core aspect of someone's being? Plenty of research has been done on the stability of personality. Back in the 60s, famous social psychologist Walter Mischel found that our actions are actually more dependent on the situation than our ingrained personality. In other words, just because your one terrible ex made you so angry all the time, doesn't mean you'll totally lose it during every future argument with a guy. Plus, more recent research seems to acknowledge that we can, through a lot of personal growth and motivation, make changes to our own personality. But changing someone else's hitch is much less studied and a heck of a lot trickier. Prepares to be a different story. People destroy themselves trying to fit the person they're with into a perfect box, says Durvasula. What you can change. It's highly unusual that a guy is going to walk into your life who doesn't have a few annoying habits that need to be nipped, like leaving his underwear on the floor, subsisting solely off of chips, or showing up late every so often to dinner, says Durvasula. The good news is that these are all behaviors that can be changed, she says. The bad news: it's unlikely that your eternal happiness is going to ride on him picking up his boxers or going cold turkey on his Cool Ranch Dorito addiction. If that does mess with your happiness, it's probably not about the chips, she says. But with some commitment, like explaining that you feel like you're playing housekeeper when you pick up his underwear, those bad habits can slowly be fixed. What you can't change. What's harder to change are his major personality traits. If he's irritable, impatient, not open to new ideas, or doesn't like to socialize, those things are going to be much tougher to move the dial on, says Durvasula. If you're going on a first date, realize that being taken to a crummy restaurant isn't a big red flag. It's acting rude toward the waiter, or constantly interrupting you, that should set off alarm bells. If you're in a relationship where you really like the guy, but believe he needs some major tuning, don't work at it for longer than 3 to 6 months before having an honest conversation with yourself about what's possible, says Durvasula. Making a plan of action, like vowing to spend more time as a couple on open communication or compromise, can help. But whether or not change happens ultimately depends on your partner's drive to get there. And if he's not willing to drop the bad habits or make attitude adjustments, well, with over 7 billion people in the world, it's almost guaranteed there's another match that doesn't need quite so much reprogramming.